Hello and welcome to Newsmax TV. I'm John Bachman. Joining us right now from Washington, D.C. is Senator Marco Rubio. Senator, how are you doing today?
Good, I'm well, thank you.
All right, thanks for joining us. Yesterday on the Senate floor, you gave a very impassioned speech about the scandals happening at the White House right now. You accused the president of a culture of intimidation, likened some of his recent actions to third world tactics.
Yes.
The president has also offered up some consolation here. He called for a shield law in response to the AP scandal. He also released some emails, and the acting IRS commissioner has resigned. Do you think this is just simply the president offering up lambs to lions here? Is this too little, too late?
Well, I think those are appropriate steps to take, particularly the resignation of the IRS acting chief, but that's not the fundamental problem here. The fundamental problem, and I called for that, by the way, earlier in the week, the fundamental problem here is this culture of intimidation. It's basically this. You have a president, an administration, and a political apparatus around him who has decided that the way to win the political battles of the day is to destroy your political opponents, to basically impugn their motives, to talk bad about them, to convince people that they're bad people and that they're doing things for bad reasons. That permeates throughout their entire organization. That's how, for example, this administration, when it was running for re-election, the Obama campaign, basically attacked a donor to the Romney campaign, put his name on a website, attacked him. Within a couple weeks, the guy is getting 2 IRS audits, not 1, but 2. That's the culture of intimidation that I think permeates throughout this administration, and absolutely that trickles down to these agencies. So we have a long list of people that say the EPA is targeting them, the National Labor Relations Board is targeting them, the IRS we know is targeting them, the Labor Department is targeting them. When you have a White House that it's all about politics, all about demonizing your opponents, this is what you're going to get from the people that work underneath you.
And Senator, we're all focused on the White House right now, naturally so, but there's a new op-ed that Carl wrote, and it's out in the Wall Street Journal. It's talking about there might be a connection to the Senate here. He references a letter that Senate's Finance Committee Chairman Max Baucus wrote to the IRS Commissioner at the time, Doug Schuman, back in 2010, requesting that they take a close look at all these political action groups. And there's a lot of other Democratic senators who signed that letter back in 2010. Do you think that there needs to be additional scrutiny paid to the Senate as well, and what role they may have played?
Yeah, I think it's part of the same.
scandal?
It's part of the same culture of intimidation. Look, when you are the nominee or the president, you are the de facto head of the party. You're the head of that party, and how you behave and how you act and how you talk about others, that sets the tone for the way your entire party behaves, right? And so that's what's happening here. You have a president that basically in every speech has decided that the way to win the argument is not to recognize that there are honest policy disagreements, but to basically say, look, if you don't agree with me on religious liberty issues, you're waging a war on women. If you don't agree with me on immigration, you're anti-immigrant. If you don't agree with me on whatever issue, you're bad. And you see him doing that over and over again. His party's going to take a cue from that. So that's what happened here. If you recall, in the early part of 2009, when the Tea Party movement was rising, these groups first were being attacked as fake. They were saying these weren't real people. Then they were being attacked as a group of haters. And that sort of personal attack against everyday Americans, who were all they were doing was exercising their constitutional rights to participate in the political process. 3 years later, we're shocked that somehow that has affected the way people in the federal government behave. We shouldn't be. This tone is always set at the top. And this president has always set a divisive tone and a hostile tone and an intimidation type culture tone. And that's what we're getting.
I wanted to get your reaction and what your thoughts are about how this might impact your work on your immigration bill, the bipartisan immigration bill. This, of course, is overshadowing everything right now, and you and I both know that you need and the Republicans need partners on the other side of the aisle if this bill is going to happen. Can it still happen, or are we already witnessing the early stages of a lame duck presidency, and nothing substantial on this immigration debate is going to get done as a result of these issues?
I'm not sure it directly relates to it. I will say this to you. One of the biggest impediments we face in immigration reform is that people are prepared to do something about the 11 million that are here illegally now and figure out a way to responsibly accommodate them into the American economy. However, they're only willing to do that if we can prevent a future wave of illegal immigration, particularly through border security. The problem we have is that people don't trust the federal government. Republican, Democrat, whatever, they don't trust the federal government. In fact, in the last few days, we've seen not 1, but 2 Democrats in the Senate come forward and say that they're not voting for the bill unless the border security measures are stronger. And so what that tells you is that people just don't trust the federal government to secure the border. They want it ironclad. And of course, when you see stories about the IRS and the government subpoenaing the records of the Associated Press and things like that, it further undermines people's trust in the government. So in that sense, I think it does have an impact. In the broader sense, the truth is we still have a very serious legal immigration problem. And I would just say to you that if we do nothing, we leave in place the status quo. In fact, we leave in place the thing we're all complaining about. All of us are here complaining about how the federal government's not enforcing the immigration law. That stays in place. We're complaining about 11 million people here illegally. That stays in place.
The last question for you, Senator. You came out very quickly and discredited that Heritage Foundation report. Of course, everybody else jumped on as well and shot that report down. One of the authors has stepped down. But do we know the costs of not doing immigration reform? Is there a number we can put on that? You mentioned the problems with the status quo, but do we know how much it's going to cost if we don't do anything?
Absolutely. I mean, we don't know the answer to how much it costs. I can tell you that I believe that the bill that we have will actually not cost the government any money, but in fact help the economy grow and save us money. There is definitely a cost in place right now, and I'm sure there are a lot of the costs that are built into the Heritage study are actually costs that are going to happen with or without immigration reform. For example, the Heritage, and look, I have tremendous respect for Heritage. We work hand in glove with Heritage on a host of issues. We simply disagree with one researcher in Heritage about this one study, because one of the costs, for example, that are built into the Heritage study is 4.5 million U.S. citizen children born to folks who are here illegally. They're going to be here with or without immigration reform. That means they're going to school, they're going to college, they're entitled to whatever a U.S. citizen is entitled to. On the other hand, we know that these folks, about 40 to 50% of the people illegally here, are not paying Social Security and Medicare taxes. If we pass immigration reform, they will be paying Social Security and Medicare taxes, but they won't be allowed to take anything out of the federal government. So there's a cost right there. that runs in the hundreds of billions.
All right, well, thank you very much, Senator. As you mentioned, the American people definitely want to see something get done on this, and you hope that there is still the political will in Washington to do it with so many other items on Congress's plate right now. Senator Marco Rubio, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.